Dear students, under Article 19(1) Clause B, all citizens have the fundamental right to assemble peaceably and without arms. This is also known as freedom of assembly, right to assemble. Um, but the restrictions can be imposed. Certain restrictions are possible on certain grounds in the interests of sovereignty and integrity of India. These grounds are listed under clause 3 of article 19, sovereignty and integrity of India, public order. On these grounds, reasonable restrictions can be imposed on the freedom of assembly. In Babulal Parakh versus State of Maharashtra, Supreme Court held that the right of the citizens to hold processions or to hold public meeting, it flows from Article 19(1)(b). So it is an integral part of fundamental right to assemble peaceably, to hold procession, to hold public meetings and discuss affairs of public importance or even of private concern. Um, However, in this case Babulal Parakh versus State of Maharashtra, Supreme Court went on to uphold the constitutional validity of Section 144 of Criminal Procedure Code, which empowers the magistrate to impose restriction on the right to assemble peaceably and without arms. And in holding the upholding the constitutional validity of Section 144 CRPC, I think Supreme Court had missed the opportunity to regulate the abuse or misuse of Section 144. I think Section 144 could be imposed only under extraordinary conditions where the threat of violence is imminent and there is sufficient ground available, sufficient material available to the different state authorities to demonstrate, to show that the assembly is going to cause violence or it will result in violence. That is the only condition under which freedom of right to assemble peaceably can be restricted or curtailed by invocation of Section 144. And we can see that there is very frequent misuse of the powers conferred under Section 144, and many peaceful assemblies, many peaceful demonstrations and processions are stopped, curtailed by imposition of Section 44. And it has been observed that peaceful procession, peaceful call for meeting and demonstration sometimes turns violent because Section 144 is imposed and the police starts preventing people from gathering and protesting. Therefore, it was a very problematic. It is a very problematic provision. I think the scope of it needs to be narrowed down through legislative intervention, whereby Section 144 cannot be abused and the freedom available under Article 1 Clause B can be freely exercised. The next right under Article 19(1) is freedom of association. Article 19(1)(c), freedom of association. And it is through freedom of association that citizens can come together and form various social, political organizations, parties, groups, unions, etc. In Devendrappa versus Karnataka Small Industries, Supreme Court in 1998 decided that government servants cannot be completely stopped from forming associations of their own choice. That will not impair their efficiency of service. Government joining a public employment or public service or government service cannot automatically amount to surrender of the right under Article 19(1) Clause C. Otherwise, there is no reason why a free citizen would accept this kind of condition, that if I join the public service, government employment, then my fundamental right to freedom of association is completely curtailed. Political articulation of views may be restricted, of course, but the complete prohibition on government employee in joining or forming trade union, trade association, or coming together to protect their own interests cannot be prohibited. In Damayanti versus Union of India, another novel method of compromising or controlling this right was evolved by the government, whereby the government passed Hindi Sahitya Sammelan Act. Those who propagated Hindi, they had come together and formed an association, Hindi Sahitya, and they used to organize Hindi Sahitya Sammelan. Government, by passing this act, decided that it will nominate certain members to the association, to the organization. The matter was challenged before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court very rightly held that government's decision to intervene in the private association formed by private citizens and nominate members to the organization or association formed by citizen would amount to violation of Article 19(1)(c), and it will not be a reasonable restriction. Next right is under Article 1 Clause D, which is freedom of movement. Freedom of movement is an important facet of democratic right of all citizens. Citizens can move freely throughout the territory of India, and restriction on this right can be imposed on certain grounds which are listed under Clause 5. And the most important ground in Clause 5 is the interest of the general public, which is very vague, very general. What amounts to interest of general public? We don't know. It is for the courts to decide which restriction on the freedom of movement is in general public, in the interest of the general public. Another ground for restriction of freedom of movement is protection of the interests of the scheduled tribes, which is quite understandable because scheduled tribes form a different class. If general public is allowed to move into their territories and occupy their properties, then their survival itself may become very difficult. With respect to control of this right, freedom of movement, one of the best strategies, most popular strategies of the state, of the governments, has been to issue externment or internment orders. Certain orders are issued by executive officers, authorities on behalf of the government, that people who are problematic or who are criticizing the government or who are part of the opposition movements, opposition groups, they can either be directed to remain within a specified territory, or they are directed to remain outside within the outside of the territory specified in the order. This is known as externment or internment order. These externment or internment orders are very problematic because they go on to restrict freedom of movement. In N.B. Khare versus State of Delhi, again a very problematic judgment of the Supreme Court, where Supreme Court held that the subjective satisfaction of the executive for passing an externment order did not constitute an unreasonable restriction. When we give this power to the executive officer, that he or she can, on the basis of his or her subjective satisfaction, go on to impose a restriction on freedom of movement, then this democratic freedom, very important freedom, remains at the mercy of the executive officers, and they exercise most of the time this power on behalf of the ruling governments. Therefore, I think this judgment, N.B. Khare versus State of Delhi, is also not very happy, very satisfactory. Does not further the cause of freedom of movement, because the officer who goes on to restrict freedom of movement, who goes on to impose restriction on freedom of movement, he is not personally accountable for unjustifiably or unreasonably curtailing the freedom of movement of citizens. Next right under Article 19(1)(e) is freedom of residence. Freedom of residence provides that every citizen of India has a right to reside and settle in any part of the territory. And again, the restriction on this right can be imposed under Clause 5. The grounds are same: in the interest of general public and in the interest of the protection of scheduled tribes. General public or the interest of the general public has nowhere been defined in the Constitution. It is for the court to find out on case-to-case basis that which of the restrictions imposed on the freedom of residence are in public interest and which are against public interest. Under this freedom of residence, under Clause 1, Clause 1, Subclause E, Another question which has been debated before the Supreme Court uh, from 1975 onwards, even before 1963, Khadak Singh versus State of UP, and subsequently Govind versus State of MP, which is that whether there is a fundamental right to privacy included in freedom of residence, read with Article 21. Now, if we accept that freedom of residence means that a person is free to move, to to stay in his house or to stay at a place, to reside at a place of his her own choice, then the approach of the government or authorities to intrude into his or privacy at that place of residence may or may not amount to violation of the right to privacy. Initially, Supreme Court said in Khadak Singh versus State of UP that it will not amount to right to privacy. It will not amount to violation of freedom of residence because there is no right to privacy under the Constitution, and Supreme Court refused to acknowledge fundamental right to privacy under freedom of residence. However, recently in Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, a 9 judges bench of the Supreme Court overruled the Khadak Singh judgment and held that Article 19(1)(e), read with Article 21, they include fundamental right to privacy. Although how much of the protection will be available after the judicial recognition of right to privacy is anybody's guess. We don't know. We don't know how the government is going to take this judicial recognition of fundamental right to privacy, because judicial recognition of any fundamental right, and we will see under Article 21 that there are so many rights which have been recognized by the judiciary as part and parcel of Article 21. Now, whether they are going to be actually implemented in practice, whether the government and its functionaries will honor those rights recognized judicially, that remains a moot question. And unless and until you have a detailed legislative or executive mechanism for the enforcement of the right, for the protection of the right, it becomes very, very difficult for the citizen to claim and enforce his/her right recognized judicially. Now, the last freedom which I would like to discuss under Article 19(1)(g), one is freedom of profession, occupation and trade or business. This is under Article 19, Clause 1, Clause G. All citizens have fundamental right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. Now, this fundamental right to carry on any profession, occupation, trade or business can be restricted on grounds which are mentioned under Article 19, Clause 6. And under Article 19, Clause 6, the grounds which are listed here are number one, the interest of the general public. Again, a vague interest of general public phrase has been used, and then prescription of professional or technical qualification, which is understandable, that if you want to start a particular profession, then you must have or undertake certain occupation, you must possess minimum qualification, minimum technical expertise. So that will not amount to restricting the freedom of trade and occupation under Article 19(1)(g). Another restriction, important restriction, which can be imposed on this freedom under Article 19(1)(g) is the power of the state to nationalize any industry, service or business to the complete or partial exclusion of citizens. Now, when it comes to the prohibition or restriction on freedom of trade and commerce, freedom of trade, occupation or business, it depends upon case to case basis upon the nature of the trade or occupation or business, whether it is in public interest or not. And here the subjective satisfaction of the court comes into play. In some cases, courts have held that restriction can be complete, there can be total prohibition given the nature of the trade or occupation or business which a person wants to undertake. Say for example, trade in dangerous activities, harmful products, trafficking in women and children, drugs and narcotic substances, etc. They can be completely banned, completely prohibited. and that would not amount to violation of Article 19(1)(g), because it will be a reasonable restriction in public interest under clause 6. But then there are occupation which do not give a clear cut answer. For example, liquor. Now liquor can be of different types. Some liquors are very injurious, can be very dangerous to health. There spurious liquor, for example, unpurified, unfiltered properly, that liquor is dangerous to health, and its consumption is poisonous at times. So in P. N. Kaushal versus Union of India, Supreme Court held that trade in liquor is not a fundamental right and complete prohibition can be imposed on it. However, I think this power which Supreme Court conceded to the state, that complete prohibition can be imposed on the right to carry on profession, right to carry on the business of selling liquor, I think that is excessive, because we have to then distinguish different types of liquors. Certain liquors are not harmful, and they are properly brewed and properly fermented, and in that case they are not harmful. It is only the spurious liquor which is very harmful to the health, which should have been curtailed, which should have been restricted completely. Then there are cases where for example, there are cases where complete ban on lottery has been imposed. Lottery, after the end of it, once you have purchased a lottery, it may result in a prize. So it is a kind of a prize competition where there is an element of gambling. So some forms of prize competitions where there is complete dependence on gambling and everything depends on chance, that can be prohibited completely. It was held in BR Enterprise versus State of UP that lottery can be completely prohibited. But then there are other forms of prize competitions where certain skills are involved, certain enterprise is involved in winning the prize. They are not held to be outside the protective umbrella of Article 19(1)(g). So this, I think a similar approach should have been adopted with respect to liquor also. Certain types, trade in certain types of liquor, certain varieties of liquor could be totally banned, but citizens do have a fundamental right, in my opinion, under Article 19(1)(g) to carry on trade in certain other varieties of liquor which is not so harmful. Another important aspect of freedom of trade and occupation and business is ban on certain meat products and meat industries. In M.H. Qureshi versus State of Bihar, it was held, and rightly so, that a complete prohibition on milk giving cattle can be justified under some certain circumstances, but a ban on non milk giving cattle will amount to violation of Article 19(1)(g). Meat industry, we know there is a huge industry world over, and if there is a complete ban on this industry in our country under Article 19 clause 6, then it will be a great loss to the country in terms of revenue, but otherwise also it will be very serious infringement on the right of people or right of citizens to have a food of their choice. So it in a way will also have a very serious bearing on Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. I think therefore a complete ban on meat products, meat industries, and complete ban on liquor, etc., and all kinds of liquor, I think is not in the spirit of Article 19(1)(g), and they need to be reviewed and reconsidered. Another aspect which has been very problematically decided by the Supreme Court under Article 19(1)(g) is right of citizens to open educational institution. Now, originally in Unni Krishnan, initially Supreme Court in Unni Krishnan versus State of AP held that education cannot be reduced to trade or occupation. It is public service, and therefore private right of the private individuals to carry on the activities involving education can be regulated. It is a public service, and therefore public interest is involved here. However, in P.A. Inamdar versus State of Maharashtra, Supreme Court held that Right to establish an educational institution is an occupation within the meaning of Article 19(1)(g), and no restriction can be imposed. Even the principles of social justice, demands of social justice cannot be extended to private educational institution. In this case, I think Supreme Court lost a very big opportunity whereby Supreme Court could have emphasized the importance of common education system and private educational institution and segregation and development of hierarchical educational scene. Different hierarchy, different quality for different segment of society is very problematic, because unless and until all children of the country get same education, common education, equality of opportunity will remain a mirage. We can never have equality of opportunity in real sense of the term unless and until we ensure equality in terms of access to education. So each child must have same quality of education, and therefore common education system must be upheld. So even if it doesn't matter that you have only private education institution, if the court is of the view that private education system is valid and it is a proper exercise of the right under Article 19(1)(g), then a uniform system of private education alone should be extended all over the country, and the special provision of social justice within the terms of Article 15 Clause 4 and 16 Clause 4 should be applied uniformly across the education sector of the country, and that is the best way to make sure that we ensure that we are able to achieve a semblance of equality of opportunity for all citizens. So those are the questions of interpretation and reinterpretation, and the moment you have a question of interpretation of the provision of constitution, the subjective values of the judge, subjective understanding, his own personal outlook, his ideological preferences, they come into play, and they go on to play a very important role in the final outcome of the decisions. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you are reading and going through the cases which have been supplied to you. In case you have any issues and concerns, please write down through email, which can be addressed in subsequent videos. Thank you very much.